Hello and welcome. My name is Angela Davis and I'm the Forum Quilter. And this is another trip around the world quilt. And if you've never been to my channel before, I've made one like this before. And it was time to make another one, and this one is for a special occasion. And I'm going to tell you all about it. So I just want to say, first of all, my tape's coming off here. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a regular, welcome back. This is probably, next to double arch chain, the second most favorite pattern that I enjoy doing is Trip Around the World. And it's just a fun pattern. It works up very quickly and it just has a very nice effect. This particular quilt I made for my niece and her fiance for their bridal shower, which was yesterday. Now, why do I still have it? Well, I was rushing to finish it and I made some mistakes on the binding. So I explained to her that once I get that corrected, I'll be able to give it back to her, and she understood. I wanted to talk a little bit about the pattern and my process.
So you need 6 fabrics, 1.25 yards of each, and you're going to cut them all in 5.5 inch strips. When you're finished cutting your 5.5 inch strips, once you decide what order you want them to be in, then you need to make yourself a little chart and number the fabrics 1 through 6, like I've shown you here.
In the beginning, like I said, you want to choose your colors in order from 1 to 6. So in mine, I chose my florals number 1, my green number 2, my 3 in yellow, my light blue in 4. I'm repeating the floral in 5, and I have my number 6 in the dark blue. Now keep in mind, whatever your number 1 and your 6 are, they're going to end up being next to each other. So you want to be sure when you put these in order, you have it in a pleasing arrangement, keeping in mind that number 1 and number 6 are going to be next to each other. So you're going to create a chart just like that, and that's your reference. Okay.
I'm following my own pattern for Trip Around the World, and it starts out with 5.5 inch strips. You need 1.25 yards of each fabric, and you're going to cut 5.5 inch strips from each 1.25 yards section. In Trip Around the World, the way it's laid out, it expands out from the center and there's repeats. So you need to know where you want which fabrics touching each. And bear in mind that number 1 and number 6 are going to match up. So try to keep that flow or that complement going when you choose your fabrics. So once you cut all your 5.5 inch strips, you're going to sew them together in panels. So you're going to sew 1 to 2, 3 to 4, and then 5 to 6. Now once your once your panels are nice and flat, you're going to create tubes, okay? So now you're going to sew 1 to 6. Now here's the interesting part. You're going to have edges that don't match up, like this, okay? And the reason being is every manufacturer calculates their width of fabric a little differently. So you may have one bolt that's exactly 42 inches from raw edge to raw edge. You may have another bolt that's 41.5. You may have another one that's 41. So, or you may have another one that has a really wide selvage and another one that doesn't. So you're going to have uneven edges. Okay, that's okay. When you're matching 1 to 6, you want to be sure to keep it smooth. So you want to look at the panel itself and make sure there's no ripples. And I'll show that to you now. So here's your strips laid out. And once you have all 6 strips sewn together, you're going to fold this over and match up color 1 to color 6 like this. So when you're lining these up, color 1 and color 6, you want to line it up so that that's fairly smooth. okay? And nothing looks like this. See that ripple right there? You don't want a ripple, okay? So you want to sort of move the fabric around so that when you lay it flat on your table, it lays flat, okay? Now, I'm going to show you what the tube looks like once row color 1 and color 6 are sewn together. It's going to look like that. And then at this point, we're going to cut strips. And the strips we're going to cut are going to be 5.5 inches because that's the cut we had of our original strip when we first started, okay? So I'm going to get started on that. We're going to cut the tubes in 5.5 inch strips, and you want the strip to lay flat and straight, okay? Okay, now I have all these tubes. Okay, what are we going to do with them? We're going to start taking and seam ripping these tubes according to the directions in the pattern.
With the Trip Around the World quilt, the first thing you're going to do is decide your center. Now, when I started this, I started my center with my light blue, okay? Because at the time I thought that was the color I wanted to start with. Once I got it all laid out, I decided I liked the floral better in the middle, but we're going to pretend this is light blue, okay? So with this being light blue, next to my light blue is the yellow and the floral. So then I had to decide which order did I want the color combination to radiate out. And I decided on the yellow. So with that being the case, it radiates out from yellow to green to floral to dark blue to floral to light floral to yellow, green, and so on. So once you decide your center, you're going to create your row for your vertical row and your horizontal row, and then you're going to stop, okay? So what I'm going to do is put my tape right here. Okay. Your vertical row down the center and your horizontal row down the middle is what guides you in your placement for each of these rows, okay? Now, there's an A block and a B block, and this is how big the block is, okay? Here's the B block. Now remember, this is my center row, okay? That's my anchor. I want to talk about the process in relationship to how I put it together. And there's a reason why. I followed my own pattern that I have on Etsy, and through the process of following my own pattern, I realized I really wasn't happy with how I explained how to put it together. So the pattern is still on my Etsy shop, but I'm going to be working on it to upgrade it, revise it so that the explanation I feel will be a little more clear. Now, when developing patterns, you write and you rewrite and you write and you rewrite, and I need a break from it so that when I come back to it, I can look at it with a fresh set of eyes so that I can edit it properly for your instructions. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I still catch all my mistakes or that there might not be a different way to explain something. So this was definitely a learning opportunity for me, and I really do need to look into finding someone to do my pattern testers. Yes, pattern testers. Now, I do know from doing my research on the internet that a lot of pattern testers do not get paid. And it's something that they do because they enjoy quilting, they enjoy looking at the new patterns, and they also enjoy working them up and being part of the process, okay? So I'm trying to figure out in my own way who I can use as a resource as my pattern tester, or maybe have two pattern testers. But anyway, this is something that I'm thinking about in the back of my mind, because this was a lesson learned, that there's always a different way to explain something to make it a little more clear for the purchaser. Right here starts the center row. That's your anchor. So in the center row, my yellow's at the bottom, which means, okay, my yellow is going to be at the top in row 1. Now I made mine one row larger, so we're going to pretend like that top row isn't there. So yellow's at the top, and now green is at the bottom in row 1. So row 2, green shifts to the top, okay, and this previous color moves down into the bottom position. Row 3, the bottom color moves to the top, and this dark blue moves in the down position. And you're doing that all the way across so that you have 1 through 6 all laid out, going in that, forming that diagonal pattern. Once you have 1 through 6 laid out in that diagonal pattern, all you have to do is cut each of your strips, okay? You need 4 strips cut in row 1, 4 strips cut in row 2, 4 strips cut in row 3, 4 strips cut in row 4, and so on. Because you have that visual already, don't sew them together yet, but they're in order, 1 through 6. Once you have all 4 rows of number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and number 4, block B right here, in block A, it goes from right to left. In block B, it goes from left to right. So here's row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, and row 6. Do you see it? 1, 2, 3, and so on. That's your A block. This is your B block. You're making 2 A blocks and 2 B blocks. So I guess to sum up, it's a fairly easy pattern. However, it's very easy to accidentally seam rip the wrong color. I did it probably 3 or 4 times while making this one, and then I open it up and go, well, that's not right. So that's why you have your color chart, 1 through 6, and that's why you have to say to yourself, once I have this center row right here in the middle, this is my bullseye, here's my center row, okay? I know what's on the bottom goes at the top in the next row, and then that shifts down, and then so on. So once you have 1 through 6 done on that first section, it just is downhill from there. And like I said, once you get it together, I did incorporate a little bit of extra fabric just in case you want to make it 1 row bigger or 1 row wider, you know. It really is a lovely, lovely quilt to work up, and I love these colors. I picked this yellow first, and I've had this in my stash for a while. I've been waiting for a special reason to cut into it and use it. So when my niece announced their engagement, I said, that's what I'm making, and I know what fabric I'm going to use. So I'm really, really pleased with how it turned out. Let me take the tape off. So I'm going to be busy this week. Correcting the binding, and then once that's finished, I'll be able to give it to them, and so that they can use it and enjoy it. The quilting I did on my domestic sewing machine, and I just cross-hatched it, and I glue basted it using Elmer's glue, and I have a video for that. And I really, really enjoyed working on it. It's like a ray of sunshine. You know, it's like bringing spring into the room, and it just brightens up the room even on a cloudy day like today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, uh, all those great things. If you have any suggestions at all, please tell me. I'm still learning every day.